how did you become a lawyer in the Philippines?
Ang hirap maging pulubi di ba? So, sometimes you see your loved ones being verbally abused by mga nakapaligid sa'yo, right? Simply because yung mangungutang yung nanay ko, makakarinig ka na, makakabayad ka ba? Ano bang assurance mo? Makakabayad ka? Wala ka namang, alam mo yan? And even at that young age, sabi ko, if I would be able to finish school and I have the chance, I would become a lawyer para I can defend my loved ones o kung sino man. So, pagdating ko sa NAIA, talagang nagdasal ako doon siya, no? Ang sinasabi ko na, Lord, if you have bigger plans for me, then lead me the way in the US. Kasi wala talaga akong alam. But if I have the choice, if I pursue my legal profession in the US, that would be the perfect gift bonus for me. So pumunta na ako ng US ngayon. Sa sobrang daldal ko, na red card ako pagdating sa port of entry in Seattle. Na red card ako.
Welcome to Linguist Access Podcast, where we all get together to learn more about inspiring stories behind every journey that will give you the courage to push past challenges and overcome obstacles, all for God's glory, with your host, Shalini Oritaves.
Welcome back to Linguist Access Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of extraordinary individuals who are making waves in their fields. I am your host, Sha, and today we have a truly inspiring guest joining us. He's a self-made personality in business, mass media, lawyering hundreds of immigrants, and advocate to many. His career started in San Miguel Corporation, eventually moved to Nestle Philippines and Nestle Philippines in Kentucky, United States, before he became a practicing lawyer in New York. Many have gone from poverty to wealth. He is a living testament. An industrial engineer, a lawyer in the Philippines, and a lawyer in New York. Welcome to the show, Attorney Nicolas Caraquel.
Hello, Ma'am Sha. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, Attorney. Is there anything I missed in your bio that you want our audience to know more about?
Basically, that summarizes my career in terms of where I started and where I am now today.
Okay. Now let's start by talking about your life when you were young, Attorney. Attorney Nick, I've been really reading all, stories about you. And I just want to know from your end, how poor were you when you were very young?
Okay. So my mom is a seamstress, my dad is a barber. And pito kaming magkakapatid, I am the sixth. So when people actually ask me, how poor are you? When my definition of being poor is, if you cannot afford to eat 3 times a day, then you're poor. If you wake up every morning and you hear from your parents na pinag-usapan nila anong pagkakainin nyo for lunch, anong kakainin nyo for dinner, then you're poor. Right? Kasi basic na yun eh. No? So if you cannot afford even the food, then talagang hirap yung buhay na yun. Right? And again,
yes.
magkano lang naman ang kita ng being barbero at saka sastre at that time when I was around 6. I was so aware of my surroundings already. And then I took care of my younger sister because I am 5 years older than her. So, yung iba kong kapatid, when I had a sense or I become conscious of my surroundings, they are also trying their best to help our family, right? So being a working student or kung ano ginagawa just to be able to help. So I think that's how poor I see ourselves or myself at that time.
That's amazing. But for you to graduate salutatorian in high school, am I correct, Attorney?
Salutatorian in elementary.
In elementary, okay. I mean, considering the fact that you were coming from a poor family, tapos na-overcome mo yun, you even excelled academically. How did you do that? Like, saan ka kumuha ng inspiration?
Honestly speaking though, you're not very conscious about the academic pursuit at that time, right? So, I hailed from San Isidro Davao Oriental. So, it's also is a medyo poor na community siya. So, parang hindi na masyadong na-highlight yung pagiging poor mo kasi yung mga kapitbahay mo, ganun din. So, then, when I was in grade 3, pinahinto ako ng nanay ko from school because she was asking me to help her sell Banana Q and Maruya and all that. But let's start from the beginning though. So to answer the question of, lumaki kasi kami na unlike the kids ngayon na tinuturuan, tinututor, right? We don't remember being taught even by my older brothers and sisters, right? So you just go to school, enjoy have your time. And then when I was in grade 1, at that time, meron silang program na they are looking for exceptional pupils, right? Kasi grade 1 pa ako noon. And then they are actually selecting parang mga top 3, top 5 students. And then nililipat nila dun sa main municipality namin. And they call it the SPED class. So in our school, tatlo lang yata kaming napili. And then I was transferred to the SPED class. Then doon medyo napansin mo na mas maraming mga matatalino and all that. But hindi yun priority mo. You don't go to school and with the intention to excel. It just happened na after every year kasama ka doon sa mga top pupil o sa top graduates, kumbaga kung sasabihin mo, right? But I think I would say na siguro nandun na rin sa lahi, I would say, correct? My sister graduated magna cum laude, being also in the same situation as I am. At may mga brothers din, may mga achievers din. But at that time, really, my focus was to finding the next food in the table every day you wake up. No? And then parang bonus na lang yung naging honor student ka or so on and so forth.
And then, it's just amazing when you told us about, when in your part of your story actually was, ikaw lang yung lone recipient ng scholarship. It's a state scholarship, na pwedeng pumasok sa Ateneo de Davao University. Wow. Can you tell us more about that, attorney?
Okay, so just like what I said, pinahindo nung nanay ko nung grade 3 ako to sell Banana Q and Maruya kasi nga hindi na niya kaya, right? So at that time, meron siyang college students noon, working students din sila, and then meron siyang high school, dalawa, and then ako at saka yung sister ko. So ang ginawa niya is she asked me to stop to sell Banana Q nga. Doon kami sa bus terminal, and I was so mad at that time. Right? So I was mad because I was excelling in school, right? I will be missing my friends, my classmates, and so on. But I also fully understand why I need to stop. But every day I have to ask God, bakit nangyari sa akin to? Bakit ako, right? Na marami naman kaming kapatid and all that. And it was a question in my mind until, so graduate ako ng salutatorian sa elementary that actually gave me a ticket to enroll in a private school in high school. So then in high school, I was part of the top 10 students. And then, nung time na yon, ang government scholarships kasi are only offered on public schools. But for whatever reason, nung time na gagraduate na ako, there was an offer on the scholarship program. This is the state scholarship program. Administered by the higher education, right? So ang ginawa, it was the first time that they offered it to the private school, and then there were only one awardee per region. So by default, pag part ka ng top 10, you are encouraged to take the exam. So di ba NCEE pa nung time namin eh. So right, yung NCEE na yon, and then while the rest of our classmates are taking the NCEE exam in our school, pinapunta kami sa district, which is about 30-45 minutes away from our school, and then doon ka magtitake ng exam. Okay? And then, aside from the scores, they also would consider the income capability ng parents. And of course, pasok kami doon. Then, graduate kami, I think top 4 sa batch namin, sa high school. And then, ang tagal nung results. I already know so during graduation namin, sabi ng nanay ko, anak, hindi na naman namin kaya pag-aralin ka, right? Kasi mas manauna pa sa akin. So, I already know na I have to stop. Again, kasi hindi na kaya ng parents. But, I don't think I'm ready to stop again eh. Because at that time, you already know, dapat mang-ambition ka, dapat you should not be contented with your status quo and all that. So, I was waiting for the results. And then, May na yon, wala pa rin akong results. And then, magko-close na ang enrollment. So, last week ng May, nakatanggap ako ng letter saying that I was the lone awardee of that scholarship. Okay? So, yung scholarship na yon, actually, silang namimili kung anong courses na pwede mong kunin. And then, pwede kang mag-enroll in any top universities anywhere in the Philippines. So, ang pinakamalapit sa akin is Ateneo. But, I didn't start at Ateneo actually, right? I'm not so sure what course I have to take at the time. So, ang nasa isip ko lang, sinabihan ako ng tatay ko na if I would finish school, I have to take care of my sister. Kasi nga, hindi na nila kayang pag-aralin siya. So then, there's a lot of courses I had to consider. Kung maging teacher ako, maging accountant ako, and then kung maging engineer ako. But then you have to consider kung ito yung kurso kong kukunin, kaya ko bang pag-aralin yung kapatid ko. This is even right after you graduate high school, ha? So when I got the scholarship, I started with UIC, University of Immaculate Conception, taking chemistry. But then, nagkaroon kami ng problema sa school. Lumipat ako sa Ateneo, still as a chemistry student. But then, on my second year, I shifted to industrial engineering. And that's where I finished my IE in Ateneo.
How did you manage that, knowing you are surrounded by well-off classmates? I mean, I can only imagine.
Yeah, very good question though. The first day I entered Ateneo di Davao, right? Kasama ko tatay ko. I think I remember 10 steps right after pumasok ako sa gate. Talagang 360 turn around tayo. Sabi ko, tay, alis tayo dito, lalabas tayo. Ay, hindi ako makahinga rito. Right? Knowing the people that surrounds you. That's why nag-enroll ako sa UIC. Right? Kasi I was so, na-overwhelm ako. It was so overwhelming. I come from a barrio, right? And then you go into Ateneo de Davao. You see the people there, and they say, I don't think I can stay here, right? So talagang lumabas kami din, pumunta kami sa UIC.
But you graduated in Ateneo de Davao. At the end of the day, you were able to complete your bachelor's degree there. Amazing.
So 1 year ako sa UIC. So 1 year ako sa UIC, and then nagka-problema doon sa school. And then at that time, the only university that offers chemistry and chemical engineering, ito na lang, sabihin ko na lang anong problema ko sa UIC. So sa UIC, there's only about 6 students na nag-apply na under the chemistry program. And the reason why I was able to attend UIC, kasi scholar ako. I don't pay anything. I have my allowance. But then, nung nag-second year na, ako na lang naiwan dun sa 6 na regular. So then, the university is now demanding that I have to pay the parang tutorial basis. Hindi ko nga afford ang magbayad ng regular tuition, right? How much more the tutorial basis. So then, sinumbong ko sila sa higher education. Then, pinagalitan sila. So, nagkaroon ng rift between DepEd, ako, and the school. So, I think the best remedy at the time is lumipat ako ng school that offers chemical engineering. Kasi at least sa chemical engineering, pwede kaming mag-join sa kanila, right? Kasi we share some major subjects. And that's what happened in Ateneo.
Yeah, exactly.
So, nung nasa Ateneo naman ako, I was so late already. I think I went 2 months late kasi ang tagal namin na-resolve sa UIC. Nahihirapan ako mag-adjust kasi nga to the point, right? Yung mga kasama mo, ibang level yun eh, right? So, either ibang level, economically speaking, or ibang level the way...
mentally.
Mentally, classmates na sila, and so on and so forth. So, then I was given an advice na lumipat. But I was a very prayerful person though. So, I was looking at that time, I was already gearing towards mag-shift ba ako sa accountancy or should I be still in the engineering field? Then, doon ko nakita yung curriculum ng industrial engineering. It's basically the culmination of being an accountant, being an engineer, or being in management. So, lumipat ako sa industrial engineering. So, sa industrial engineering, the same issue ang mayayaman yung mga classmates mo, and so on. And I remember my first day, kumain ako sa yung gilid-gilid lang, right? And then, nakasabayan ko doon, turned out to be my classmate pala. And he turned out to be one of my best friends, even up to now. No? So, classmate pala kami doon. And then, may nadagdag pang isa. So, nung pumasok ako doon, trust me ma'am, first 2 weeks ko walang pumapansin sa akin except yung classmate ko, yung nakasama ko sa kumain. Okay? So, kasi nung time na yon, either maganda ka or gwapo ka or matalino ka or mayaman ka, right? Yun lang yung that matters in the classroom, right? So sabi ko, okay.
That's true.
Wala ako doon sa dalawa, right? But hindi mo naman maipakita yung isa pa, right? So I think that was my midterms, mid-August na yun eh. So sabi ko, Lord, if this is the course that you want me to finish, at least let me excel on my first major exam. So yung first major exam ko was accounting. So it was a 3-hour exam. And then I think I finished it in 2 hours. Wala naman akong magawa. Ang next exam ko is after pa ng exam na yun. So I submitted my paper. Na-bore na rin yung teacher namin kasi nga exam, di ba? So wala siyang ginawa, kundi chinek niya yung papel ko. And I was just taking a nap in my chair at the time. And then, sabi niya, after 30 minutes, sabi niya, Mr. Caracal, is your dad an accountant? Sabi ko, Ma'am, no, he's a barber. Sabi ko, why? Sabi niya, well, you just got perfect in the exam. So that's when my classmate looked at me and said, tika lang muna, right? So then after that, I have more friends and so on until I finished in IE.
That's a perfect transition because I was about to ask you, like, because of poverty, like, you know, how can you supply your needs, yung mga left and right? Kasi even if you're a scholar, you still have to shell out something, especially for your food. Yun pa lang, malaking factor na yun. At the same time, may mga projects na you have to contribute, diba? Because may mga group projects, I don't know, but sometimes that's also a concern. And sinabi mo sa isa sa mga interviews mo, ikaw yung gumagawa ng assignment ng kaklase mo, in return, they will help you. How was that, attorney?
So, napansin na nga ako doon sa classroom namin, right? And then, I was excelling in almost all subjects naman, except English at the time. So, ang nangyayari, and this is what I realized, na in Ateneo, if you will be a pretender, I don't think I will survive. So, nung nagsisimula na yung mga expenses, right, outside the tuition, kasi wala akong bayad sa tuition, may allowance ako, but magkano lang naman ang allowance ko at that time. So, dahil nga kunti lang kami, we will be in groups. And industrial engineering kasi is you have to go to factories, even in your second year, to implement or i-apply kung ano yung mga learnings mo, right? So, at that moment, I really decided na I actually stood up in front of my class to actually say, hey guys, ito ako, economically speaking, right? But I needed a partner or a group to help me go through this. Mga mayayaman yung majority ng mga classmates ko, right?
Yes.
So sabi ko,
yes, that's true.
Working with somebody, but don't ask me na mag-contribute para pambili ng papel, pambayad ng computer, pambili ka ng ganito. I just have to be very honest with that. Pero, kung legwork ang pag-uusapan, ihatid mo ako sa factory, ako mag-gather ng data, sunduin mo ako mamaya, 8 hours later, will be fine. But then we have to work together, and then during the defense, you have to study. Kasi at the end of the day, group effort pa rin yun. So, yun yung one of the strategy ko, which work. I think I just have to tell them, hey guys, I don't have to pretend, no? Na kaya ko to, kaya ko yan. So, that's one strategy. And then, yung dalawa kong kaibigan nga, there's so many days where I don't eat for 3 days, right? Kasi, kahit yung dalawa kong kaibigan, nararamdaman nila pag kunwari, recitation, tinatawag na ako ng teacher namin, hindi ko na naririnig yun eh. Right? Kasi ang iniisip ko na lang is, saan ako magla-lunch mamaya? Saan ako magdi-dinner mamaya? Right? So, maramdaman nila yon, sabi na, oy Nick, sabay ka na sa amin. So, yun yung true friends mo. Now, without even saying anything, alam na nila na hindi naman ito kumain, hindi naman ganito. And then, mahihiya ka at one point eh. No? So, pag major exams, kunwari, midterms and finals, I'm so happy and still grateful with mga classmates ko kasi magko-contribute sila. So, tag 5 pesos, so kahit na ano, right? Then, iipunin nila yung ngayon para pambili ng at least pang dinner ko, pang ano ko. And yeah, they did that for me.
Wow. 5 years attorney, right? Industrial engineer is 5 years.
4 years na lang when I was in Ateneo.
So, you were able to make everything work for you, and it's a wonderful story because it's really truly overcoming life's setbacks. But when you graduated, fast forward, when you graduated, were you hired immediately by San Miguel Corporation, or you had to go through the application? How was it? What happened when you applied? Yeah.
So, graduating from college is one of the painful experience for me kasi yun yung first time na graduate ako na walang award. right? Because I fall short of graduating cum laude. Ngayon, ang nangyari is may mga job affairs, diba? Yun yung mga ano, diba? Nag-i-interview yung mga mga companies and so on. And I think that was also the first time na yung mga top corporations in the Philippines actually had it in Ateneo. So, for every top 10 graduates ng every engineering field all over Mindanao, in-invite kami to go through the interview process. So, in the beginning, parang from Ateneo, so 100 kami nun, all over Mindanao. And then, maraming companies nun, Nestle, San Miguel, and all that. But ang tumawag lang sa akin is si San Miguel. So, we started with about over 100. And then, this shortlist it to around 20. Then 10. So, the first cut, dalawa na lang kami from 15 yata from Ateneo. Tatlo na lang kami naiwan. And in on the final 10, ako na lang naiwan from Ateneo de Davao. And then, tatlo lang kaming kinuha for that batch, for the program na parang cadetship or management trainee ng San Miguel Corporation. So, I was just lucky na I was one of the 3 na na-hire ng San Miguel 3 weeks before my graduation. So, parang yun yung consolation ko na even if I didn't graduate cum laude, at least may trabaho na ako.
You have a job waiting for you.
Correct. I was smiling already when I went to the graduation rites.
It's more than the bonus of, having, the award is good, but, at the end of the day, what was long-term was, having a job. So let's dive a bit deeper into how did you become a lawyer in the Philippines?
Okay. So then I was hired by San Miguel, and then dapat ang plano nun is magti-training kami sa Manila, but after that, you will be assigned to the location kung saan ang needs. But San Miguel, even the program started, kailangan na nila talaga ng IE planner sa Mindanao, sa North Min. So that is actually based in Cagayan de Oro. So hindi na ako pinadala sa Manila. I was actually hired directly to be the regional production planner for Northern Mindanao operations, and it's based in Cagayan de Oro. So then I worked there. I have very good mentors in San Miguel Foods. My boss happened to be also an IE, so I really excelled in San Miguel. But then, remember, I also applied for Nestle before graduating. So, mga 1 year and a half, they called me to say, hey, we saw your resume, your application mo nung before. We would want you to offer a job, but it will be in Cagayan de Oro still. So, sabi ko, but I already am in San Miguel. So, nag-interview ako, syempre, right? And they, I think, tripled my salary. So I was excited to join them. And then lumipat ako doon. And then I stayed there for 10 years. So going back, when I was working at parang nung maliit pa nga ako, ang hirap maging pulubi di ba? So sometimes you see your loved ones being verbally abused by mga nakapaligid sa'yo, right? Simply because yung mangungutang yung nanay ko, makakarinig ka na, makakabayad ka ba? Ano bang assurance mo? Makakabayad ka? Wala ka namang, alam mo yun? And even at that young age, sabi ko, if I would be able to finish school and I have the chance, I would become a lawyer para I can defend my loved ones or kung sino man. So when I was already working in Nestle, at that time, I realized na I already have the financial capacity to support myself and go to law school and be able to support my sister and my family. Parang nandun ako sa posisyon na yon na I can afford. And for the first time in my life, I have to pay for my education. And that was law school. So yun yung sa akin, yun yung nag-push sa akin na ituloy yung pangarap na yon. And I'm just so happy na yung factory manager, my boss, is so supportive of me going to law school. For as long as alam ko yung priorities ko, na if there will be conflict between work and my school, you know what your priority is, and that is work. No? So instead of finishing law school in 4 years, I finished it in 5 years. My first take, I was so happy na pumasa ako, and I became a lawyer. And then I was promoted from being the factory industrial engineer to becoming the executive for human relations for Nestle Philippines.
I know how challenging it is to be working at the same time studying law school. I enrolled in a law school. I've been in the sophomore years, and then I quit because I had to take care of my kids and I have to work at the same time. But for you, attorney, to even finish it you know, the way everything happened, like ikaw, yung working mo, occupying a higher seat in Nestle Philippines, because even if you said that you were in this position, that was also demanding, I have to say. Kasi demanding na agad yung trabaho. Tapos biglang you were offered that executive assistant post. Now, attorney, why, I mean, you continued in Nestle. So for a decade, and then you moved to United States after that, or you were like traveling in between?
So, just like what you said, my job in Nestle is very fulfilling. They've been very supportive of my career growth. Malapit na ako mag-assistant vice president position nung time na yan. And then, nagkaroon ako ng problema with my immediate boss. For the first time in my 10 years, nagkaroon kami ng problema. And then, I would say, yung mga political issues, politics in the corporate world, right? But I'm so lucky because very solid yung performance ko for the last 10 years. That when that happened, I went directly to the top management of Nestle, right? So, ibig sabihin, the head of HR, the head of my department, and I've been supportive with my previous bosses. And then, so sabi nila sa akin, so what's your plan? So sabi ko, mag-resign ako kasi nasaktan ako eh. But at the same time, they also tried to talk me through na, Nick, baka pagod ka lang. We saw you are very dedicated to your work, right? You deliver results and so on. And then sabi niya, baka gusto mo magpahinga lang muna. Because at the time, I was the head of the biggest warehouse of Nestle Philippines. And I work 7 days a week and extended hours, right? So sabi niya na magpahinga ka lang muna. Then I remember, I had a US visa. So nung nalaman ko yun, sabi ko, okay, sige boss. And again, this is all I really believe in. When God wants you to be somewhere else, siya na mismo ang maggagawa ng paraan eh. Because at that time, ang dami kong calls na natatanggap for me to move to the other companies. But I was so very loyal to Nestle. Because they took care of me eh. Diba? So, nung na-realize ko na meron pala akong tourist visa, then I actually negotiated with my boss and the head of HR. Sabi ko, sige boss, magpahinga ako, but I might apply for Nestle USA. Right? I know already my capabilities. I know my options, what my options are, but I'm not so familiar with US immigration at that time. No? So I was just hoping I would be able to find something. No? I remember I was at NAIA. I am not so sure what's going to happen in the US, but I already sold my car kasi wala akong pambaon, right? Kasi at that time, nagbabayad pa ako ng mga utang ko doon sa loss. Kasi binigyan ako ng 3 months na walang sahod when I took the bar. Right? Wala namang maibigay sa akin, pamilya ko to support me. So I basically supporting myself, I'm supporting my sister and my family and all that. So bininta ko yung sasakyan ko even if I only have a tourist visa at hand. No? But I am not so sure what's for me pagdating ko sa US. So pagdating ko sa NAIA, talagang nagdasal ako doon siya, no? Ang sinasabi ko na, Lord, if you have bigger plans for me, then lead me the way in the US. Kasi wala talaga akong alam. But if I have the choice, if I pursue my legal profession in the US, that would be the perfect parang gift bonus for me. So pumunta na ako ng US ngayon. Sa sobrang daldal ko, na red card ako pagdating sa port of entry in Seattle. Right? So na secondary inspection ako. I was held for 4 hours. Tinanong ako and so on and so forth. Nakita yung mga credentials ko, right? So what's your plan? Mag-a-apply ka ba dito? And so on and so forth, right? But that is the biggest learning I had at that time. But looking back now, I think naisip ko na God had me go through it para I will be in a better position to advise my clients not what to do when you are a tourist visa holder coming to the US. So, to make the whole story short, yung kaibigan ko na taga Seattle, may usapan kami doon na, hey, can I stay in your house, right? And then, ako na yung taga-luto, taga-linis, taga-tutor, taga-lahat. Kasi they have 3 kids, right? And of course, I was looking for, hindi pa naman bawal ang mag-apply nung time na yun.
That's the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Only here on Linguist Access Podcast. Thank you for listening to Linguist Access Podcast. Please give us a review on iTunes. Leave a comment. Like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next episode.